Good evening. The presidency is the most powerful office in the world. It's an office that not only tests your judgment, perhaps even more importantly, it's an office that can test your character. Because you not only face moments when you need the courage to exercise the full power of the presidency, you also face moments where you need the wisdom to respect the limits of the power of the office of the presidency. This nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States. With today's Supreme Court decision on presidential immunity, that fundamentally changed. For all practical purposes, today's decision almost certainly means that there are virtually no limits on what a president can do.
Well, good evening. Welcome to KQ. My name is Kevlon.
And I am Ken.
Yes, indeed. We're trying our best to bring you a normal show with our witty commentary and spark and dashing humor whenever we can, muster it up. But today, it's kind of serious. We finally crossed over the old proverbial Rubicon.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. Our Supreme Court has decided, based on the fact that we had the first president that has committed like many crimes,
Egregious crimes
that he has already been found guilty of as well. He's already been charged on many others that haven't been brought to bear yet. However, this Supreme Court decides that moving backwards, presidents have some sort of qualified immunity.
Yeah, and our Constitution doesn't speak of this immunity one iota, and it has never been applied by any court to a presidential situation. This is brand new. It was pulled out of their rear ends, and it was only designed to protect Donald J. Trump from criminal prosecution.
Yep. They said Teflon Don was something else, man. That man something else.
Yeah, and it took a whole lot to get there. There's multiple parties involved. There's the president himself, who basically has to commit these crimes in order to even get this on the docket. Then there's the courts, who can decide to take cases, disputes and resolve them, or they can ignore them and say proceed as normal. So the Supreme Court decided they wanted to jump in here and take up this case on whether or not presidents are immune and he's not accountable for his previous actions while in office. Didn't work for Nixon too well, but for him, because of all of the things that happened leading up to this point, here we are.
Yeah, and the worst part about it is these justices and their wives have been implicated in all kinds of activity alongside the president
related to this specific case. This is about January 6th and all of the things surrounding that, and the whole coup attempt and the fake elector scheme, and him pushing his agenda throughout the entire administration, trying to make them overturn the election. The wives of two of the justices who voted to give him immunity one of them was involved heavily with that, and the other one was a sympathizer, turning the flags upside down. Both of these guys refused to recuse. Basically, there's no character in these people. There's no character in Donald Trump. So that's why we have these issues in the first place.
Yeah, so in efforts to save their own butt, now they have to jump in and save Donald Trump, because if Donald Trump don't make it, then their butts are in jeopardy. Oh man, I swear if we get a dang on full majority in the Senate, in the House,
in the Senate, we can
in the House and the Senate both
impeach and remove.
We start impeaching and removing and replacing and such. They wouldn't.
And hold on,
or expand the court. They could expand it to 37.
That's what they need to do. Put 34 on there.
50. We need 50. One for each state.
And I'm gonna tell you something. For everybody over this last week who's been belly aching, and I'm talking about on the Democratic side and the Republican side, I belly ache myself, but doggone it, I woke up. All right. I don't want to hear another peep about a debate. First of all, debates have very little to do with who gets to be president in the United States of America. Doesn't really matter how well or good or bad you perform. I'll give you an example. Barack Obama performed horribly in his first debate against Mitt Romney. He blew Mitt Romney out. There's a guy who is predicted about 9 out of the last 10 elections, and he's got markers that he uses. It's basically 10 items that if you look at this is what I use to predict. One of them is incumbency, for instance. If you're the incumbent president, you're more likely to get elected. Debates ain't nowhere in his list. Okay?
Nowhere.
So
Yeah.
I don't want to hear anything about Joe Biden stutters or Joe Biden slow, or he ended his sentence feebly, or he didn't complete a sentence, or he didn't respond forcefully to Trump's lies and check him on the spot, and he didn't do this, he didn't do that. The debate performance was bad, but we're beyond that now. We're beyond whether or not a particular debate performance is bad. There's been multiple instances of him on stage since the debate. He doesn't look too feeble there. He went to the Waffle House. He was hollering at people. He was there. He was up all night, doggone it.
Yeah.
And the next day, did a rousing speech. So bad night, fine. I don't want to hear no more about that. Now we're talking about, are we going to have an imperial presidency, someone who can just commit any act with impunity, and then when it's time for accountability, we have to go to the court and see if they are right-wing enough to let him go. No. And speaking of cognitive ability, just to show you, first of all, to put this to bed, his competition's cognitive ability isn't that great anyway.
Yeah, y'all just don't know.
And my stupid people, when I wanted to refute it, they said, sir, don't dignify it with a rebuttal.
Have you been noticing peculiar behavior recently in someone you know?
Carried out by Ray,
Someone who mixes fiction and reality?
the late, great Hannibal Lecter. He's a wonderful man.
Perhaps someone of advanced age you have known for years.
Did you just see Maduro, Venezuela? It's unbelievable, Venezuela.
Of course, we all have our goofs. But consistently odd behavior can be a sign of frontotemporal dementia, a degenerative disease of the frontal and temporal lobes of the brain that dramatically impairs cognitive function. And there are some key signs to look out for, like slurring words,
The failing New York Times by anonymous, really anonymous.
struggling to find the correct words is another sign.
The Mueller report, I wish, covered the oranges of the investigation.
You may also notice someone veering into incoherent ideas, detached from reality.
You know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark.
Or an inability to complete simple sentences.
Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat.
Other notable symptoms include impaired motor function, such as a wavering limb, and decreased balance, often accompanied by a signature lean or arched stance. If someone you know is demonstrating several or all of these symptoms, they are seriously unwell. As a matter of safety, they must be relieved of critical responsibilities and disqualified from any position of authority. Remember, frontotemporal dementia is a degenerative disease. Cognitive function will never return and will only deteriorate further. Don't ignore the signs.
Yeah, so as you can see, yeah, that he don't have them all together there himself there now. And, you know, you got to compare apples to apples. But as far as democracy is concerned, here's another interesting point. By the way, a poll came out yesterday or today that stated that 56% of the voting republic, all of America, 56% agree that Donald Trump should not even be allowed to run. And this is a poll that came out after the debate, after all was said and done. 44% say, yeah, he should be allowed to run. Well, 56% of Americans that vote say Trump shouldn't be allowed to run simply because of his criminality and his all-out utter threat towards democracy. So
yeah, and that's the thing. Even though I'm kind of hard on the American public for not digging in and having an interest in who's running things around here so that we can get things to move in a progressive direction and help as many people as possible. People, we do need to do better. We only voted like a clip of 60-something% in America, but at least they know enough to know that Donald Trump should not be allowed to run because of primarily his criminality. The problem here is that we have a media that very rarely suggests that Donald Trump's criminality is a reason for him not to run. But one bad debate for Joe Biden and the media just went haywire.
Yeah. I mean, Donald Trump, this guy steals freaking classified documents. I don't know if y'all saw just the other day, he was on the tarmac with Russia and Saudi Arabia, both their planes parked right there with him over in Virginia. And they're like, well, why are these planes right next side by side with each other? And in the back of my mind, I wonder, did they get every single one of the classified documents that this man had back? I mean, are you sure you didn't leave a rock in Bedminster unturned or something?
Yeah, they must have made some copies from the stuff he gave to him earlier to give it back to him so he'll have it in his possession again. Who knows?
My goodness. But this dude might be out here. Okay, so even if he gets caught selling classified documents to Russians and Saudi Arabians, according to the Supreme Court ruling there, as long as he was in office at the time, that's an official act. I mean, dealing with dignitaries abroad.
It's what they think is an official act at the time. They can decide it's official or not.
Yeah, that would just be totally fine. Yeah, I mean,
the bar should be, is this against the law? If it's against the law while you're in as president, you can be held accountable. That is the standard that we have lived with for all of these years. Now, all of a sudden, because Donald Trump gets in trouble, they have to move the bar, remove that standard and say, well, he's immune unless it's something that's a non-official act. This is going to have multiple implications, which we will discuss further in this video.
So moving forward, we have a little clip here where they're discussing the dissent of Sotomayor. And we'll just jump on in here and see what they have to say about it.
Ooh, Lord.
Sonia Sotomayor was, as I mentioned at the top, pretty scathing in her dissent, and she lays out some very disturbing scenarios that she believes would be fine now. She calls Donald Trump's actions treasonous, and then she goes on to say this new Officials Act immunity lies about like a loaded weapon for any president that wishes to place his own interests, his own political survival, or his own financial gain above the interests of the nation. The president of the United States is the most powerful person in the country and possibly the world. When he uses his official powers in any way under the majority's reasoning, he now will be insulated from criminal prosecution. Orders the Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival, immune. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power, immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon, immune, 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 immune. Let the president violate the law. Let him exploit the trappings of his office for personal gain. Let him use his official power for evil ends, because if he knew that he may one day face liability for breaking the law, he might not be as bold and fearless as we would like him to be. That is the majority's message today. There's never been a moment in history before where this line has needed to be drawn in this way. Presidents have.
Yeah. So, my goodness.
This is a sad day, people. This is where you see the target move right in front of your eyes. Things that were considered yesterday to be unthinkable, that being the president can just commit crimes with impunity and not worry about getting prosecuted. That is now on the table. That is now a reality in the United States of America. That's what it took to get Donald Trump off. Therefore, that's what the Supreme Court did. They executed. This is why it matters who you put in office. It matters who you put in as president and as senators. You see, we should have gotten rid of Donald Trump when he was trying to bribe Zelensky to start a fake investigation on Joe Biden. We should have gotten rid of Donald Trump then. We should have gotten rid of Donald Trump when Donald Trump decided that he wanted to sit still for 3 hours while they beat the heck out of the cops at the Capitol on January 6th in their attempt to execute Mike Pence and other Congress people in order to stop the certification of the election. They should have gotten rid of him then. And Mitch McConnell agreed. He agreed that he did something wrong. He said that Donald Trump was responsible for it that day. And when this thing comes up for court, because because Mitch McConnell previously withheld the ability for Barack Obama to put a Supreme Court justice on, and then came back later and put in Amy Coney Barrett under the gun. Now we have a situation where the Supreme Court is heavily MAGA leaning, and they will do anything that they can to save Donald Trump's rear end.
Yep, this is the Federalist Societies doing their part, playing their part in Project 2025. Y'all need to look that up. Was going to go back and play the rest of that Joe Biden speech because it was pretty incredible. But I'm not going to. I'm gonna put it in the description and let y'all look it up and play it for yourself. It is the most awesome thing we played. Is how we started.
Yeah.
But we're gonna end it with the cake cube. We love y'all. Keep your head up. Hopefully, this is not the end of democracy as we know it. But
the thing is, we can still get out of this. But what we have to do is we have to vote in Democrats. Yes, Democrats are not breaking laws and are not asking the Supreme Court to allow them to break laws to the degree that the Republicans are. They're not doing it at all, as a matter of fact. Name the laws that the Democrats are breaking. Name the court cases that they're losing left and right. Name the felony convictions that Democrats have, and they're still controlling the United States government apparatus. It's not out there. So this is not a both sides kind of deal. This is a clear example of why we need to get rid of these Republicans, and we need to put Democrats in office in order to withhold and uphold the rule of law.
We love y'all, people.
Love ya.
Take you.
Next time we'll try to be a little humor.
Yeah, more funny. Next time.